welcome to another interview here on Vicious VOX. This time we are here with Lucas Bishop, vocalist of Don't Follow Mankind. Hello, Lucas.
How's it going, man?
Channel, man. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Honestly, I appreciate the invite. I'm ready to talk about some vocals. It's gonna be a fun talk. You know, I think more people should be doing this, like talking about vocals in general. I think it's a great thing. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, thank you. The pleasure is mine. When did you start doing extreme vocals, man, and what inspired you to do it?
Oof. I started doing extreme vocals correctly about 2 years ago. 2.5 years ago, which is when I took over Downfall vocally. I was previously the drummer. I was in the need of a skillful vocalist, which for the kind of music that we do was extremely hard to find.
Yeah.
Within our scene. So I started to, I took it on my hands and I'm like, I'm gonna start doing it myself and see how far it goes. So yeah, basically about 2.5 months ago. And I believe what inspired me to do was the fact that I needed a vocalist. Like, I've always loved, you know, extreme vocals and whatnot, but like I said, originally a drummer and not much of a vocalist. So yeah, both of those things put together in a crock pot, and it comes out on the other side what you got today.
Man, so it was like out of a necessity. It wasn't like something you always wanted to do.
No, I didn't want to be a vocalist. I want to be the best drummer in the freaking world. I loved my craft. I loved doing drums and whatnot. But I think the necessity brought the eager of being the best vocalist, and being that the case, now I want to be the best vocalist. Now I want to be the one that stands out. Now I want to master also the craft of doing vocals. You know, yeah. So you put those two together, and that's it.
Well, apparently it's turning out good, so.
Oh yeah, I'm happy about it. There's much more stuff to come, but so far so good, I would say.
All right. Can you describe your vocal training process, like how you developed the style that you do now?
Right, so just like I started it, my vocal warm-ups and techniques also came naturally as well. Of course, a little bit of here and there of researching. So this is the thing. So when I start doing something, I automatically get extremely curious about it. So I'm gonna go on the internet and I'm gonna go search for it. I went to learn a bit more of the anatomy behind vocals, what connects with what it's not possible to be doing because of what reason, and so on and so forth. So when I started doing vocals, I started developing and shaping up my own vocal techniques in terms of warm-ups and whatnot. So there is several things that I do to control my breathing process. There's several things that I do to increase my lung capacity. There's several tricks and shots that I've developed within my body to not hurt myself properly. Because one of the first things that you have to understand about vocal techniques is if it hurts, you shouldn't be doing, right? This is one of the things that I've been learning differently as well right now, because apart from doing extreme vocal techniques, I'm also doing singing, which is also part of metal, and who's been coaching me lately is Matt Hafey, which is the vocalist from Trivium. He's the one coaching me. He's been coaching me for the past month or so. So, which, when people understand that cleanings are as well as important as the gutturals or the fries or the false chords and whatnot, people understand, like, if I connect this with this, what comes out in the other side, so you know you have new vocal techniques coming out and flourishing for your metal library. So basically it came naturally as I did my first scream. You know what I'm saying? Just like I went to the studio, instead of sitting on the drum set, I took the mic and I screamed. Shitty sound comes out, but within time, you know, and practice and effort, everything comes together. So same for vocal warm-ups. If it hurts, don't do it. Try it in a different way. So it's like we have different pipes going on here, you know. Some can pass air, some can. So that's how it works. But that's how it worked for me, actually.
All right, that's cool. Seeing like the level that you are now, and the fact that you did it out of a necessity in such a short amount of time, like that's impressive, man. Like,
thanks, man. I appreciate you. But honestly, if when people come to ask me, it's just like, for how long have you been doing? And I usually tell them between 2.5 years, 3 years now, and I'm still expanding my library. The best advice that I can give people is just like, you know what? Just start doing it.
exactly.
There's no better way to start doing something by just start doing it. You understand what I'm saying? People are just like, oh, but I'm afraid that I'm going to sound like shit and that I'm not going to perform as well. Nobody's going to perform well at first.
Exactly.
The first person to give out a scream on metal music did not sound like the biggest monster in time. You know what I'm saying? That person did sound like shit in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? I take one of the vocalists that actually I look up to, and I've always did, and I always found him extremely impressive ever since I started doing extreme vocal. It was Mitch Lucker. But if you take Mitch Lucker's vocals back to 2003, like when Suicide Silence first released their stuff, so it's like that did not sound how he sounded right before he passed away. So it's a long, extremely long process, you know, to reach. For some people, it's an extremely long process. Don't take me as an example of it, because I've known people that have been doing for 12 years, for example, and they're not at the same level. So it's extremely easy to start. Only you gonna determine how hard you're gonna make your path, if it makes sense what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Makes sense, man. Like it's a muscle that we are training here. Like it takes time for the body to develop. It's not.
Yeah, it's like bodybuilding. You know what I'm saying? You go to the gym, you're not gonna get super, you know, strong fast, but you're gonna see improvement real fast if you dedicate yourself.
Exactly. Man, perfect. What you do to maintain your vocal cords in an healthy state when you're like touring or in the studio recording? What do you do to keep them safe?
Lots of tea, man. I can't stress that enough. Honestly, I can't stress that enough. And there's this recipe which is available literally for anybody. Just make a big picture of it and carry wherever you go. I'm also warming up literally everywhere that I go. So everywhere that I go, I'm doing like head voice, for example. I'm singing my own stuff on head voice. It sounds ridiculous, but it keeps vocals warm at all times. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you do false chords, because false chords doesn't require a lot of projection to be done, for example. So you just, let's say you're sitting in the Uber, you got your headset on, and instead of doing full-blown projection out there to scare people, for example, you're just doing false chords quietly. And you're always drinking like some tea. Honey, ginger, and lemon tea. Anything that will keep yourself warm at all times, that's what I recommend. You know, try not drinking too many cold drinks before performance, if you know what I mean. Try not drinking a lot of gas liquid before performance, for example. This will make you burp, and you don't want that. You know, try to drink something warm and light that will keep you healthy as well. And nothing is better than lemon, ginger, and honey tea. That is a gold. This is literally gold for your voice.
Like to relax your vocal cords and drinks are the best thing to relax them.
Oh yeah. If you're an alcohol drinker and you want to drink something a little heavier on that side, I do recommend bourbon, for example.
All right. Cool, man.
It really helps. It also gets you drunk, but it really helps.
That's not good for live performances, man.
No. Not really.
Man, how do you prepare yourself for a live performance? Like, what goes through your head before you go on stage?
My live performance, it's the last 2 hours before going on stage are a bit weird. They are. I take my time and I warm up for 2 hours, basically. Well, usually 3 hours before the 3 to 4 hours before the concert, I'm already in prep, right? I'm no longer drinking anything that contains gas on it, for example, because I know this will affect. I'm not gonna eat anything that it's gonna take me about 3 hours to be digesting, because this will also affect my performance. I usually like to isolate myself a little bit between that time, so I can start doing my vocal warm-ups and I start getting my head in place. It really depends from place to place. When you go to if you're on tour, if you're playing on your hometown, if you're playing in your own country, or if you are on a country for the first time. So it really goes about where your body and spirit is at that moment. Who's the people surrounding you? So in order to make that, because it needs to be an extremely comfortable place to be. It's your head, right? So you got to choose who you have around you. So if you're touring with your band, for example, and this is what I do, this is the band that the people that I most love in my life, it's my bandmates, right? Because these are the people that I'm going to be sharing years after years after years after years after years with, you know, being that on tour, being that on studio, being that we are together at all times. This is one thing that I got to tell you. We are together at all times. So what I do usually before the concert, I isolate myself for a good 2 hours. I want to be by myself. I want to be doing my vocal warm-ups. If anybody comes within that bubble, for example, of course I don't isolate myself for the rest of the world, because it's impossible. People want to talk to you, or people want to, you know, do other things related. But if anybody comes into that bubble, I make sure that those people are my bandmates, because I know they're not there to give me trouble, right? To get me off my mind before the concert. So it's the place where usually I'm doing warm-ups, where I'm listening to music, where maybe I take the time to talk with another vocalist, for example, you know.
Yeah.
And ask him what he does and whatnot, just like what was been working for him throughout the time, what has been not. So yeah, that's usually. I'm not usually the kind of guy who gets extremely nervous before the concert. I get super psyched. You know, that's the kind of person that I get extremely psyched before I go on stage. I pump myself up. I pump my bandmates up, and that's basically the ritual that I go through it. Usually on tour or in a regular basis, yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. Everyone has their different way, different approach to getting in the right mindset, and
yeah, definitely
been working. Yeah, I've seen you live. Like I've seen it works.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
And like,
thanks, man. I honestly appreciate you. You're not bad yourself, and you know that.
I'm just beginning, man. Take it easy on me.
Which is a good thing. That's what I'm saying. Like I said in the beginning, you know, it takes a minute to start, and you've been doing great. I've seen already two of your concerts, and they were flawless. I went after the concert. I went to talk to you from one to another. I don't know if you remember exactly what I said, but dude, I remember saying your vocals have went from here all the way here, from that performance to this one, and I mean it when I said it. I really mean it.
Thank you.
You know.
Thank you.
It's like it's literally like I'm looking to one of my students as well throughout the weeks. It's like you went from singing this on the mid note to singing on the low note, and I'm extremely proud. I looked at you and I'm like, that's amazing, for real.
Thank you, man. Can you tell us a bit about your creative process behind the lyrics? Like, how do you try to transmit the message through your vocals?
This has to be the most difficult part of the whole composition process. The kind of music that we do, it's known for, oh, I don't want to listen to this because I can't understand what they're saying. Yeah. Have you ever heard that before?
Oh man, all the time.
So yeah, the composition, this part of the composition process has to be one of the most difficult to go through, and it's usually the last ones that we go through, because what happens when I build a track, which surprisingly is not happening for this record that we are finishing right now, and I'm gonna tell you what in a minute, but usually what I do is Arthur and I and the boys, we go through the drums process first, and then we build drums, and then on top of those drums we go to guitar, right? Lead guitar, rhythm guitar. Let's see what we can find here. Then I'm gonna take those tracks, I'm gonna bring it with me, I'm gonna put it in my computer, and I'm just gonna scream over it what it comes into my mind, right? Rather it's melody, rather it's something else, I'm just gonna scream it onto the mic, I'm gonna record it. From there on, it's when I'm gonna start the process, what I call dissection. I'm gonna start dissecting each part that I scream onto a word to match the subject, right? And then I transform that into the lyrics. So basically that's what happens. And by doing this, for the most part, when I record it, and this did happen with Viobirth, it happened a little less with the Path of Human Existence, but with God of Nothingness, if you hear, you can understand much more the lyrics. You can understand much more what I'm saying than what I said on Viobirth and the Path of Human Existence. The reason why is, instead of copying the screaming melody that I done previously onto the actual recording booth, I put in the word, I write on the lyrics, and when I go to the booth, I don't copy exactly what I screamed over. I actually screamed the word. If it comes out good on the other side, it sticks. If it doesn't come out on the other side, it's going to be the noise that I previous recorded, but at the end of the day, it's going to sound like the lyric that I wrote.
Yeah.
But I've come to understand that, especially after I wrote God of Nothingness, which is the latest single that we released, when we went live to play that song for the first time, and first and only times thus far, was on Chapada.
Yeah, I saw it.
And people were actually fucking screaming the words back because they could understand. When it got to the chorus, which is actually the first time that we're introducing clean vocals onto what we're doing right now, I had people up in the balcony, I had people in front of me like singing back, and that feeling and that's for me at this point, because when you take the time to write something and then you see that people sing back, that feeling struck me as the best interaction that a band can have with its public. It's when they scream back at you your lyrics, right? There's no mosh pit, there's no wall of death that can compare that. So what happens with the composition of this one that we were finishing right now, is just like, I'm focused much more in creating the best experience around for people to enjoy, and not just the headbang, not just the wall of death, not just the mosh pits and the circle pits and the crowd killing. I want people to experience every single word and feel every single word that I'm saying, so they can scream it back in the minute, and I just want to make sure that they understand everything that is going on. This next record is extremely important about that, because I'm talking about how we deal with our fucking inner demons, how we deal with our mental capacities and witnesses, throughout the day. So yeah, that's how it goes, the composition behind the lyrics and everything.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, it's kind of similar to what I've been doing lately. I write at the same time as I try to fit in the words in the metrics in the song.
Mm-hmm.
The words make sense with the music. It's not just trying to put in words inside the melody. No, it's putting words that make sense. So yeah,
it needs to make sense. Exactly. You need to feel it. If you feel it, your fans are gonna feel it, and that's the most important part.
Yeah, man. Getcha. How do you feel like being here in Portugal has been affecting you as an artist? Like, being a band in Portugal, do you feel like it affects you negatively, or because being like a small country that we are, or you feel like it's been a good thing?
Honestly, I'm gonna be raw with you. In the beginning, the question that I was most asked was, why did you choose Portugal to start a band? And now the most question that I've got from people, it's actually this one that this is like, how do you feel with your band being from Portugal, right? Which is kind of weird at the end of the day. And honestly, to be completely honest, I feel accomplished.
All right.
I could not have chosen a better country to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like people needed this. There's so many bands in Portugal. There's extremely large amount of bands in Portugal. Actively, I'm not sure how many, but I'm gonna shoot 400 actively.
There's a lot, man. I can't even count.
In Portugal, probably more. It's just like I'm probably shooting the wrong number, but probably more. However, bands that actually push their limits beyond the expectation, there's not so many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talent, but bands that actually push their limits, that actually wake up in the morning and work 24 hours on their craft, there's not so many. So when we got the recognition that we got not just Portugal, but around the world, it makes me extremely proud that this band is out of here. That this band was born here by a foreigner, but was born here, and it has the success that it had so far from here, and has the accomplishment that it had so far being from here. You know what I'm saying? He's starting off playing for 50 people, or going to Germany and playing for 5,000 people, for example. You know what I'm saying? Going on to another place for 500 people, but going to a big arena and playing for 10,000 people. But I'm proud that he was born here, and I feel like there's only so much more that we can do. It's just like, this is just like the tip of it. Downfall of Mankind has been going around for, and I'm gonna toss it right there, roughly 3 years and a change of months. That's Downfall of Mankind. So yes, if you ask me, I feel like it did affect, but in a positive way, because the country needed this. Most definitely the country needed that. The heat.
Yeah, I feel like what you were saying, the country needed it, and like, it's easier to stand out because there's not many people reaching the levels that bands like you are reaching. So it's easier to stand apart and look apart.
It's I wouldn't say it's easy. If you put in the work, we work on this 24 hours, every single one of us.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. It's just, if we only do this once a week, go to the studio, and then do that eventual concert once a month, once every 2 months, then yeah, it's gonna become extremely difficult. But we work on these 24 hours. We wake up and we have this for breakfast, and then for lunch, and then dinner, and then we repeat that thing. We've been doing this for the past year. Most of us were zombies. We barely sleep. You know what I'm saying? But we are working on this 24 hours. We are putting the word out there. We're putting the effort. You know, it's our craft. It's our life. It's what we want to do for the rest of it. So yeah. But I wouldn't say it's easy, because it's crazy. Yeah. It's honestly, sometimes it's madness.
I understand, man. Well, do you have like a favorite song to perform live, and why is it special for you? Like, I have a suspicion of the song, but can you tell me?
Yeah. I'm not gonna say it's God of Nothingness, because we only performed that track once.
I was expecting that one.
Nah, we only performed that track live once. It's definitely part of the new lineup for this tour in 2023. But my favorite track of all time to perform was, and it has always been, Bow to the Crown. Because when we composed Bow to the Crown, that it's a track that if you stop to dissect, it has literally a bit of everything. Bow to the Crown has everything. It has the slams, it has the technicality, it has the deathcore aspects, it has the symphony aspects, it has the hardcore aspects. It goes up and downs. It's not repetitive. Has two different breakdowns. It has groove. Makes people jump. Makes people mosh. Makes people circle pit. And that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to see. Plus the performance that goes along with it. That's the kind of shit that I want to see. I don't know if I can curse in here, but that's the kind of stuff that we as public, right, would experience when we go to a concert. Man, on the same track, I want him to make me jump. I want him to make me crowd kill. I want him to make me circle pit. And Bow to the Crown does that. We even sometimes add a wall, and eventually wall of death between that track and Beneath the Aftermath, because it's so complete for us. And Bow to the Crown is one of those tracks that you're gonna look in 15 years, that track will still be there on your set list, even if it's for an encore. So I would have to say Bow to the Crown. But I'm telling you, this is about to change real quick when the new album drops. That's for sure.
That's good news. Can you tell us a bit about the challenges like that you faced as a vocalist, and what did you do to overcome them?
The challenges that I faced as a vocalist. That's a good question. Being afraid of your voice not coming out, I think it's the biggest one. Yeah. Because being a vocalist, it's not like being a guitar player, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you break a string, you go ahead and you change the string, right, of your guitar. Yep. Me as a vocalist, you as a vocalist, if we get sick, ain't no changing strings.
Exactly, man.
I make sure if there's something that I'm extremely careful with, and I can't stress that enough, like I said about the tea earlier, I try to keep myself as healthy as I can, because I know for a fact if I'm on tour for 20 days and if I get sick, regardless, I'm going to do the concert. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to do the concert. But I know the experience is not going to be the same, because my vocals are not going to be as strong as I want them to. Everything is not going to be in place as I want them to. So biggest fear, getting sick. How do I overcome them? I just try to keep myself as healthy as I can. So I hardly get sick because I'm constantly taking care of myself. So it's like I don't stay out so late when it's super cold, because I know I have to be taking care of that. I'm constantly drinking tea. I'm always conservative around that area. So yeah, basically that.
Yes, it's our biggest enemy, getting sick.
Oh my goodness.
Get it. What are your main influences like in music, and how did they influence you as a vocalist?
That's funny because I don't have many vocalists because I've not been doing for such a long time, so it's not that I have like a list of guys. Look, this is my list of people and this what I've looked up to. If you ask me about drummers, I'll be able to tell you.
Yeah.
But as a vocalist, there is a handful of people that I've been looking up to lately for the craft that they do on their field. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Joe Bad for Feet or an Autopsy is one of them. That guy is so versatile. We've been talking about it as well, and he's been giving me a couple of tips about how to, to get around those things. Obviously, Matt Hafey. And now we go back to a little bit, because Trivium, it's a band that I've been listening to since I'm young. It's not that I had like a huge Trivium phase, but everybody went through Trivium when they were growing up and listening to metal, right? So obviously Matt Hafey, because he was one of the first interactions that I had back then with having cleans within the metal community. So I was either listening to that or asking Alexandria back then, and I leaned towards more Trivium. CJ McCon from Die Artist Murder. It's a guy that I've been looking up to. Even when I was a drummer, it's like, man, those vocals are so amazing. I wish I could do those things, but I'm not going to be a vocalist. I want to be a drummer, and I want to be the best thing in what I do. Yeah. So yeah, basically, I think one of the ones that I do, because this is a band that I heard for so long. So Sepultura. Max Cavalera, for me, was, if you ask me, he was one of my biggest influences. Because listening to what Max was doing back then towards the music that they were doing, that was extremely brutal. Extremely brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Take me back to Chris Barnes when 6 Feet Under was good as well. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you, Chris Barnes' vocals were extremely gnarly back then.
Yeah, man.
Extremely gnarly.
Yeah.
If today they sound like, and it's not so good, but he came somewhere. It's just like, and he deserves his due respect. But yeah, Chris Barnes and then George Corpse Grind as well. But yeah, if I can name a few, those are the names that I can give you.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually started learning from Chris Barnes, as weird as it sounds, but from his early vocals, because they were exactly the thing I was looking for, like deep,
raw stuff, the thick and raw stuff. Yeah, it always started back then, man. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, can you tell us a bit about the future of Downfall of Mankind? I heard you guys are preparing an album, but can you tell us a bit more about that, and like any plans for future concerts or tours? I know you have a tour in the future, so can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, so we busy. Mm-hmm. Lemon squeezy. Like I said, we've been eating that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the album is coming along just well. We are just finished with the pre-production, which means we're about ready to jump in the studio. Mm-hmm. It's going to be an extremely long process. It's not going to be the usual process that we were on for Vile Birth and the Path, because the Path of Human Existence and Vile Birth, they went pretty quick. It was a week of pre-production, a week of recordings in the studio, and we were out of there. This record, we took about Boy, we took about 5. We are entering the 60th month right now of pre-production. So we've been building this album for the past 5 to 6 months right now. We are reshaping a shit ton of stuff since we signed with our new managing producer. So we are having to reshape everything, or a big portion of it, or a couple of arrangements that we're doing, and we're just about done with it. And it's gonna take probably another 6 to 7 weeks to start tracking guitars, drums, and the guitars and the bass and so on and so forth. And all I know is that the time we're taking, it's going to be completely worth it. It's something that this country has yet to see in terms of extreme music. You know, when I started Downfall, I wanted to do something that not many people were doing back then. You know, the symphonic slamming deathcore thing. Mm-hmm. When I labeled that back in 2019, I couldn't name much bands that were doing that back then, mixing the symphony with the slamming and the deathcore at the same time. There was a lot of bands doing symphonic deathcore, and there was a lot of bands doing the slam symphonic, so to speak, but nobody was mixing them together and adding hardcore elements and other stuff. So we always, like I said, when I started, I didn't want to invent anything, because, you know, you can't really reinvent the wheel, but you can reshape it, you know, and make it something different. So this album that it's going to come out, it's yet something that, you know, for a lot of people, it's extremely new. So yeah, we have a tour coming up. We have a big tour coming up. We're going to be 20 dates out there. We still have a couple dates to announce within that tour. But yeah, we're going to go across all Europe, bunch of countries. On this tour, management decided that we should do countries that we haven't gone before, especially for 2023, because we're going to be promoting a couple of new tracks. You know, maybe we do a couple here in Portugal. I'm not sure yet. We'll see about it. You're going to have to go to find out. And yeah, I'm excited to go to a shit ton of those countries, man. It's going to be our first time in the UK, which has been extremely requested, which is amazing. I can't wait to go to the UK. We're going to go to Czech Republic for the first time, Slovakia, Slovenia, you know, and I couldn't be more excited. There's way much more stuff to happen that I can't talk about it yet, but it's going to come out in due date. And I'm pretty sure our fans from Portugal, for the most part, I think they're going to be extremely proud. I think they're going to be extremely happy for us, as we would be nothing if it weren't for them. But yeah, but the news are going to come out in due time.
All right, so a lot of expectation for the future, man.
There's a lot going on, man. There's a lot going on. I miss my bed sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot going on. It's for the better.
Yeah, it's going to be worth it, I bet.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So, man, last question. We've kind of talked about it a bit, but can you give some advice for someone that's starting their vocal journey and wants to be a vocalist?
Don't be afraid. Just do it. If it hurts, stop for a second, take a breath, drink a lot of tea, try it again. You know, don't stop. Yeah. Don't stop. There's literally nothing stopping you but yourself. Just keep doing. You know, I'm a vocal coach myself, so if you need help with it, just fine. But I'm pretty sure he's going to put my socials in here or something. Just go in there, shoot me a message. We can talk about it. You know, I don't charge to talk to people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's it. Don't stop and start doing it. That's just go for it. If you want to build a band, if this is what you want to do, there's a difference between being a frontman and a vocalist. Those two different things.
Yeah.
But if you want to be both, just start doing. If you don't know how to, come talk to me. And that's basically that.
All right. Like persistence over perfection. I get you.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Lucas, for taking the time for this interview, man. Wish you the best of luck in the future. We have more content, so stay tuned. Down in the description, I'll leave the links to Downfall and to Lucas, and I'll leave you guys with a small portion of what they do at the end of the interview. So, thank you, Lucas, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you, man. Honestly, props to what you come up with. All right, props. I wish you
Thank you.
the best, and I wish to come back on the show sometime later. That'd be great.
All right, maybe like a cover. I don't know.
I don't know. They're gonna have to follow you and follow us to find out. That's it.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Bye, man.
Appreciate you, man. Bye.
We're gonna play a new track tonight. And this song is dedicated to fucking Omega. This next song is called Ford. I'm the fucking devil. Lose your shadows, let's go.